Good morning, all company representatives. Welcome you all for the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. And the competition we are going to name as a Best Management Practices Company Awards 23. So in these technical info sessions, you will get some sort of an idea about how to write synopses and overview of this competition. So therefore, we have invited from the Institute founder and the president of CPM Sri Lanka, Professor Lakshman R. Watavada. And also we have the chairman of the panel of judges of Best Management Practices Company Awards 23 and governing council member, Dr. Samantha Ratnayaka, to give the overview, technical brief about these competitions. So before we proceed to the technical informations, may I now invite the founder and the president of CPM Sri Lanka, Professor Lakshman R. Watavada, to give opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dilshan. Good morning to all of you. Dr. Samantha, who's really behind the whole program and also would be conducting and explaining to you about the best management practices competition that we are conducting. So this year we are going to have the Best Management Practices Company Awards 2023. That the date of the competition, of course, would be in 2023, but the awards would be really relating to 2022, and I'm sure that Dr. Samantha will be able to tell you more details of the whole thing. As you know, that this is the second time that we are conducting this best management practices program or the awards. As you know, we did it last year, and this is really contained in the sort of the objects of the chartered professional managers. Just to tell you a little about the chartered professional managers, these are a professional management body. Of course, it's a non-profit making institution. When you say it's a professional body, it's a non-profit making where any surpluses that they obtain are used for the development of the member institution. So it was in 2008 that we got this idea, and where the CMA, that's the Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka, they signed an agreement with the All India Management Association. As you know, the All India Management Association is a collection of all the management, the business management and business organizations in India, and one of the largest institutions there. And then thereafter, in 2009, we incorporated the Institute of Certified Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. So this was the start, and also we are currently members of the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia, which is the apex body for all business schools in the South Asian region, which includes India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, the Nepal, Maldives, Afghanistan, all these Bhutan, all these South Asian countries. So we are part of that, and of course have been actively involved in the promotion of the management profession in Sri Lanka. So it was in 2019 that the certified certified managers of Sri Lanka were converted to the chartered professional managers. So after within 10 years that we were upgraded to this, and also as the most active and the one of the key professional management institutions in Sri Lanka. So our activities have enlarged very many, and the one that where we are really, of course, we have a membership now. Those who have obtained, who have experience in the management field, plus also where they have the management qualifications, they are able to get membership. And currently we have close upon 2,000 members in our association. So members who are participating would certainly would be able to also join the professional management body. That's the CPM. So it was in last year, 2022, that we started the Best Management Practices Company Award Scheme. Now, this we thought at that time, because companies were going through grave major problems with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we knew that a lot of companies have taken definitive measures to overcome these problems that they're having. So as a result, our committee, that the technical committee headed by Dr. Samantha, they were able to come up with the criteria for the best management practices in Sri Lanka. Because as you know, we should recognize, because this is really meant to recognize the best management practices that are practiced by companies, maybe the partnerships, SMEs, of course, the state institutions, the state corporations, maybe the banking sector, which is one of the most organized sectors compared to the other sectors, and they will be able to enter this competition. So the state sector is also another important area where we need to improve the management and also to recognize those who are having best management practices. So there are certain criteria that have been laid down, and as you know, everyone would like that if they are doing some good work, that they be recognized. So that's what the chartered professional managers are doing, and we are very thankful to you for attending this initial workshop that we are having, where we will explain as to what are the essential maybe criteria and how you could really submit your applications. Now, some of the key areas that we are looking into now, which you all know, in the management area, of course, which will be outlined by Dr. Samantha, would be on the leadership. That's very essential, because leadership is not only for companies, but even for a country. If you don't have proper leadership, then of course, we are in grave trouble. But today we are really not bothered about what is happening, but we are there to recognize those who are really having the best practices and carrying on their work, meeting all these challenges that are there in front of them. Then, of course, the policies and strategies. People management. Now, this is one of the key areas that we need to look at. The people management, which is very important. And of course, as far as our organization is concerned, where we do certain programs to build the management professionals in their companies. We do special courses for companies, but we also have what is called the management and entrepreneurship program, which is in great demand. We have 3 levels of it, certificate, diploma, and advanced diploma, which will help the managers in the corporate sector, the government sector, the private, maybe the companies, partnerships, SMEs, and others who could follow it and gain a lot by this. Then, of course, the partnerships and resources, then the processes and the performance. Now, performance is something that all private sector organizations look at, because if you are unable to perform, then of course they always say the doors are open to you. But in the government sector, if you don't perform, the doors are closed and you are all there enjoying all the benefits that are there, and maybe the taxpayers have to pay the money. So that is a difference between the private sector and the public sector, and today we need to go for performance. But with what is happening, you will find that some of those may be ejected from their cozy rooms that they are working in, and where the private sector has been working very hard. Now, even in the corporate sector, 2 areas I think which you all are quite familiar is the ESG of the environmental, social, and governance. Now, these are areas that you should take into, and I think environment, I'm sure Dr. Samantha would explain how they could bring that in, because that's something of great importance today, and we need to look at that. And as far as the excellence in management is concerned, that is an area that we need to look at. And of course, how your maybe serving the society, because it's today not only the profit that one is making, but the society. So here we are not looking at annual reports and others, but the best management practices of a company. So it is easy for you, any company to enter. Now, I saw one of the sectors that we are having is the apparel sector. Now, apparel sector, uh, although it is the largest export sector, maybe there are one or two companies that are quoted, but all the others are unquoted. So it may be they could come in, because they don't really have to disclose their profit and loss statements, which sometimes they will. Since they are private companies, they might not want to do it. I know that even multinational companies will not want to do it, but they can come in for the contest because they are having best management practices. So this is something that will help them. So I'm sure that we will have a big participation from all the organizations, because if you are able to show the best management practices that have been today being used by the companies, by the SME sector, by any maybe the state institutions that are really being well managed, then they will open the eyes for the others to see how maybe mainly government institutions should also go into this and improve it. So our real purpose is to recognize and also to show the public that there are companies that are doing extremely well. They are performing well. They are able to meet challenges. They are expanding their activities. They are not only in the domestic market, but also in the export market. So I'm sure that this entering the competition would really help you. And this will also coincide with our conference that we are planning. Last time also we had it with our conference. And this time theme is on rebooting management, reimagine and redesign. So this competition of the best management practices company awards 2023. I must thank all of you for attending it, and definitely not only that you'll be able to get the explanations, but you'll also be able to get any clarifications, any questions that you will need, and that you will be ready to submit your applications to win the award. So thank you very much, and I'm sure that this would be a very great event that you'll be entering, and that we will be able to recognize the best companies and institutions that would be involved in the Best Management Practices Company Awards 2023. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your wonderful thoughts and initial remarks. With that, we can invite Dr. Samantha Ratnayaka, the Chairman of Panel of Judges, Best Management Practices Company Awards 23, to give overall explanation about this competition. And before I hand over the proceedings to Dr. Samantha, may I request from our audience, keep your mic muted. And also in the event, if you have any sort of clarifications, so after this presentation, you can on your mic and post your questions, as well as you can post any questions if you are not able to on your mic and directly talk, then you can post your questions via chat box. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Samantha.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Lakshmanar Watawala, the founder, the president of CPM Sri Lanka, the director CPM Mr. Dishan Arasuguratna, and all the company representatives. First of all, I want to thank Professor Watawala for that fascinating, wonderful, big picture, which is articulated very clearly what is this institute is all about and what we are going to do. So let me start with the program proceeding first, and I will take you all the key areas. So based on that, at the end, after completing of this, I will share some thoughts which we have experienced in the last competition. So after that, we'll go for all the possible Q&A if you have any. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you might have seen this booklet, but in brief, if you look at the Best Management Practices Company Awards 2023, so that the CPM as an integrative national body, which is coming up at larger scale now, promoting best management practices in Sri Lanka. So that's one of the core responsibilities, where, as Professor Watawala said, 2023 conference is coming at a critical juncture of Sri Lanka, particularly at the beginning of the year. So we want to look at the management, but management as rebooting. So how we can reimagine and redesign. So as you know, particularly if you look at the theme for the next year, the conference, in line with that, all the public and private sector organizations, companies, institutions are really looking forward to come out with their next, the growth lines, next survival, sustain and sustainability and so on. So in that sense, we are looking at the institutional for their organizational growth and success, and that is going to be look at from diverse perspectives like leadership, policies, strategies, people management, partnerships, and so many other aspects which the professor also has highlighted. Overall, if you look at this particular, the competition is all about under the theme, finally, we would like to get the five overall winners, mainly the three top, the gold, silver, bronze, and 2 merit winners, to showcase in front of a larger audience. The main objective is that to get that embed into our industry practices. We want to share that knowledge with many. So last year, after getting that resounding success and overwhelming response from the audience about what we have done, what they have shared with the audience, so we are now very much geared up under the leadership of Professor Wattawala at CPM to this into the next level. So with that description, if I go to the applications areas, as Professor said that if you look at any competition, it has its own peculiarities. But here, one important thing is taking whatever your key operational areas, key managerial areas, key practicing areas. So this is an invitation for you to revisit your own goal strategies and see kind of an assessment and come and present this in the exposed context where get some industry experts and others views and comments. So that's the kind of overarching picture. So of course, the winners have a wonderful and fascinating opportunity to stand before the rest with the award and the professional recognition and enhancing your value proposition and so forth, so on and so forth. So of course, those who are operating in Sri Lanka, any registered local or foreign business organization with 30% local equity that operates, if I read it out, in its business in Sri Lanka in the past 36 months, so that the prior to the date of application is eligible to apply. So at least last 3 years, the operations in the country is vital. Well, with that, if you look at, I'm sure you are aware now, as Professor said, that widely opening to accommodate all the sectors. So if I look at the right side, the category winners, you can see banking, finance, insurance too. There are 22 categories. Out of that, 2 special highlights there. You can see number 20. So we are inviting all the small and medium enterprises also to come forward and tell your story. So that is one side. And then you can see that the number 21, government, semi-government and authorities, they do also have an opportunity to come forward and showcase. But at the same time, there are some emerging industries which have not specifically articulated or still getting those bigger picture, larger attributes converge. So we have kept one category open called number 2, other category, any significant industry which is not the above list are coming under that category. So overall, if you look at in terms of these categories, each category winner will be recognized as the category winner, and in that, so they are entitled Best Management Practices Company Awards 2023 of that category. At the same time, other than the number 1 winner in that category, so those who are scoring according to our assessment criteria beyond 50% of marks, of course, they should be recognized. So, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a special recognition category for that let's say for an example, on a particular category, there are 8 players. And number 1 would be getting as the category winner, whereas the other 7, out of them, those who have scored beyond 50%, of course, they are being recognized as special recognition. So that's a good opportunity for them to look at revisit of what they are doing. So that is what indicated on the left side called overall winner, gold winner, silver, bronze, and the 2 merit winners. Now, these winners, overall winners, after going through this assessment process, will be showcased in alphabetical order of those 5 companies, the 5 institutions at the March 16 next year, the main conference in the main auditorium in front of the larger participation. As far as the competition is concerned. So if I get you into some critical dates which you are very much conscious now. So this technical briefing information session which we wanted to kick off today, because to get the idea across, and then the initial registration and the closing date means that is on January 15. The idea is on January 15, then we know that under each category, what are the companies applying under that, so that we can get an idea. And of course, you have time till January 31st, 2023 to submit your synopsis and do the registration with that the payment which is applicable to that submission of the synopsis. And in the month of February, the technical team would start the proceeding, and the 3rd week, 20th to 26th week, so you have virtual presentations. The presentations all are lined up. We'll explain in detail later. So that awarding date is on March 16. That's a big day. So at any time, you can use the QR code. You can log into from this. You will be easily connected to that Google form, and you can submit the basic preliminary required information. With that, you can be in touch with the Secretariat of CPM. So we are giving a special fee for SMEs as a special category, because we want to have more and more SMEs. That's one of the initiatives which CPM has taken, and it is also successfully in place. So we want to encourage them to come forward and showcase their story. For other institutions, we have charged a nominal fee of a registration fee of 40,000 when you're submitting your synopsis. Of course, the other details are given here. The 2 banks, the usual secretariat working modalities are presented here. With that, may I take you into the page number 5, that is where general guidelines. If we go to a little bit nitty-gritties, you would see that you need to write your best practice as a synopsis. So in that 1,005 to 2,000 means we need to place those number of words within that. Otherwise, one may ask that, can we exceed 10%, 20%? No. Here, between 1,500 to 2,000 means we can easily settle down within that. So in case if there are few appendices or any references available, if it is required, you can annex after the 2,000 words. So that is, but in this case, it doesn't mean that your synopsis is about like 2,000 means about 6 to 7 pages and you have another 30 pages of annexes. No. So that's why we have particularly mentioned called including appendices and references, that because to discourage to give a bulky large document. So that's what it has been mentioned. So the submission process electronically via email or a CD in MS Word 2000 or higher version. So otherwise, Secretariat, the organizing committee can't have the proper documents in place. Well, you may follow any of those fonts like Arial, Calibri, or the Times New Roman 12 font size. So those the subheading should be properly bold, page margins 1 inch. So to give that rich outlook to your document, some methodical, systematic way of presenting, because your document is a silent representation about your company, your brand name, so your image, your dignity, so that we need to maintain. So the evaluators would look at that, since the context, apart from what we are experiencing now, according to the nature of this context, that evaluators are not expected to visit the companies. So therefore, the synopsis should be endorsed by, approved by your chairman, CEO, managing director, or any other acceptable higher authority in the company, with the company rubber stamp, seal and signature. I want to tell you happily, last year we received, in most cases, companies are duly following those due diligence, and that's really appreciating, because they are doing these practices. So synopsis which does not adhere to above, of course we are compelled to like return or not accepting. So there were such 1 or 2 instances as well. Well, all the correspondence of yours should be directed to awards@cpmsrilanka.org email. So that is fully dedicated for this award. So there's a dedicated officer from the secretariat to be in touch with you. With that, let's come to some important nitty-gritties, the content areas here. So we would like to give a kind of a template. So those who are registering, the secretariat would share with you a Word document, clearly articulated template. So why we are giving a template? Not to confine, not to like restrain your creativity or innovation, but to keep you focused. So in that sense, companies need to follow the template given below, so that all are following. So it's easy for the evaluators, which when I'm explaining, you would realize that this diverse resource personnel, when they are looking at that, so they are looking at based on a given criteria, rubric. So here, if I get it to into the nitty-gritties, if you look at question number 1, the situation in the organization before implementing the best management practice, or a brief comparison with the previous year's situation should be indicated, 10 marks. So what does that mean? Now, Professor Vatawala also clearly highlighted that. Now, if you look at 2019, 2021, that is a time where that is a kind of an unimaginable period that all of us like have gone through in terms of our experience in 2022, the beginning of this year. So as a responsible professional body, we have come forward and inviting to recognize some companies while having all these odds, while having all these challenges. Some of them have fared well, performed well, like showcase their businesses well. We should recognize them. We should get them back to the business. So that's the kind of thinking we had at the beginning of this year. But as you know, as you're all aware, year 2022, if you look at the total this year, while having similar but different, all sorts of unprecedented economic issues, challenges, some of them Professor also has highlighted, that we have gone through. But still, we can see some companies, some institutions are standing, like doing something differently. They are sustaining while having all these pressures. They are absorbing the pressure and doing something better. Why not? We should encourage them. So that is what you are going to showcase in next year in this March competition. So when you are going to do that, you would see that in this case, with regard to this 2022 year, if you look at that, now here the situation in the organization before implementing best practice, of course, according to your respective industry dynamics, you can explain what was happening, what has been going on, what is exactly there within looking at the year, the full year of January to December 31st period. So you can imagine what's happening. It's a brief comparison, it's very brief. So we have put it in blue color, say make it very brief. Don't write too much. You can explain within that the question number 1. So with that, now we need to focus on question number 2. Here, a brief description of the best management practice your company practices highlight novelty and innovation. So there, now Professor also has highlighted a few things like either human resource management, marketing, operational, either environmental, that's ecological, or you name it, any functional area, that you can look at. Because as you know, if you look at the technical meaning of best management practices, what does that mean? A practice or a combination of practices that is effective and practicable in a given context from any dimensions, either technological, economic, institutional, from any of those angles, a practice or a combination of practices in a given domain. So which is effective and practicable. So in that sense, now you might have definitely so many practices, but would you like to take one significant one out of your basket? It can be marketing, it can be human resource, it can be IT, it can be environmental related, it can be manufacturing related. You take one functional area. So you have something to showcase, something you like to share with the others, and you want to tell that, look, we are doing this something differently. That is the requirement here. So dear ladies and gentlemen, you have 15 marks for this. What does that mean? Select one critical best management practice and explain it. Best management practice, not what you are doing, the meaning of that, the idea. Please do not write many practices here. Select the topmost important one to be showcased. So out of it can be a marketing one, it can be a people related one, it can be operational related, or environmental, ecological, or innovative, kind of something novel, something creative, something like highlighting, standing out. That should be clearly highlighted. Now the context is there, best management practice, now you have distinctly identified, defined. With that, we'll go to now we want to tell the story. For that, we have question number 3 and 4. So if you look at question number 3, it shows very simple. How has the said best management practice contributed to bringing back to the business? So here, getting you back to the business, opportunities for sustaining and growing the business. Provide a minimum of 3 pieces of evidence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you are invited to tell your story of how that particular practice has contributed in terms of getting you into the sustaining, getting you into the momentum, getting you into the driving of your business. That's why if I read it out, say clearly present 3 pieces of evidence that indicate how the above chosen best practice has contributed, get the business sustaining and growing. Sustain, absorbing the pressure, doing something important, something like momentous to get it to the next level. That is what you need to write. So when you are writing 3 minimum pieces of evidence means what? Ladies and gentlemen, you may distinctly identify through either paragraphs or with the mini subheading. Within this question number 3 box area, which is a Word document, it's an editable one. You can expand it and write it so that clearly highlight 3 areas. If you focus on 3, perfectly all right. No need to write 4, 5, 6, 7, because it doesn't mean that additional marks are given. So the panelists would look at 30 marks, where those who have met those expectations, 1, 2, 3. So that's why 30 marks, each generally about 10 marks. So now you are telling a story. So how to make it acceptable, convincing, justifiable? That is question number 4. That is what we say. How could the output, an outcome of the said best management practice be measured or described? A focus on industry impact, or is it a social impact or contribution to the economy or profit, or even the popularity of the product or service, your branding side, you name it. Is it your digital shift, digital business shift, or is it your manufacturing new practice, or is it a industry kind of a new benchmark, or is it a national level contribution? Is it an industry impact, or is it a societal impact? Now, when it comes to these 2 words, one should be a little bit careful about the output and outcome. So earlier in the question number 3, you have said 3 evidences, but number 4, we need to clearly showcase. That's why bring your number-based evidence, results, indicators to showcase output and outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, if I just to highlight theoretical, conceptual meaning of output means anything number driven, anything calculated, anything tangible, anything accountable. So in that means a number. So our situation has improved from here, from this amount to this amount. So to a greater extent, you should be able to get some related figures. So sometimes you may not have exact figures from this activity to this result, but that's why we have said earlier, this is an invitation for us to look at our practices and work and revisit our work to make it justifiable. So that is what the question number 4. So with that, now you have got a clear best practice with the results based on your 2022 figures, numbers, and so on. And the outcome is all about qualitative impact. That is about the efficiency, effectiveness, productivity, agility, leanness, satisfaction, or the societal value. So all sorts of the qualitative justifications there. Now with that, anyone in a panel would ask, oh wow, this company has done something wonderful, this is excellent. So these are very much important to the country or industry or per se. So in that sense, we want to ask a pertaining question: measures that are taken to sustain and consolidate the process. They have done something, are they continuing or have they given it up? Is it a one-off thing? No, that's why 15 marks allocated, because any evaluator would love to see that whatever you have started, you are taking to the next level. Probably you have taken some measures early, but it has properly, appropriately consolidated during 2022. You want to take it to the next level. That's what the justification. But after telling all this, still you feel that few other supporting aspects also, like you have been recognized, rewarded for these measures by any other, like your good effort has been in overarching recognized by different other say like institutions, bodies, professional bodies, and so on. Of course, a brief description of any other supporting aspects can be included in that here in 5 marks. This should be very brief, and if required, some annexes can be like few pages, 1 or 2. You can add with clear annexure 1, 2, 3, where your accolades, credentials, and so on. That can be done. Right. So with the interest of time, with that, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, this is where not just giving an award. Of course, the desk review is the first part, the 50%, and the second round evaluation where the oral presentation. Now, why I have highlighted too much about this template. Now, with that mindset, may I go to page number 7? With that, you can see that the same format is followed for marking also. This is a rubric, the criteria strictly following. So we have a very transparent system. Now, as a chairman of this panel of judges, I do in my personal involvement with one institution. So here I have a role to play as a judging chair, also as a governing council member. So when we are doing that, so most of these institutions and all the large network personnel are involving with us. But when it comes to this process, we have an Olympic transparent system. So in this case, the panel of judges who are doing this, they are giving marks, and all the marks will be collated and taken the average. So that means 6-7 members marks are collated. So that's one thing. Second thing is, it is not a one-person involvement. So that that is the report part. So then the presentation, it's like extended. A few other professionals are also involving in the presentation evaluation. So they also look at that. So like as far as the written desk review is concerned, they would look at the same format. You can see 10 marks, 15, 30, 25, 15, 5, where the situation, that brief, clear identified best management practice, how the said best management practice, how could be the output outcome, measures to sustain, and the other supporting one. So therefore, it is an invitation for you to tell that to maintain a little bit discipline in terms of compiling your this template Word document because you can see that evaluators are looking accordingly and give the marks. With that, ladies and gentlemen, may I take a few minutes to very quickly highlight about this second round as well. Just imagine that apart from the readers of this, your distribute marks, there are some other professionals also would involve in this second round oral presentation. When you are doing that, so that during that time, now this entire presentation, it is not just a copy paste of your report and synopsis and you are presenting it. It's all about the same presentation, but a little bit contextualized. So the cover PowerPoint presentation slide would be given to you. All will be given, facilitated by the secretariat. So they would look at the background of your company and justification of the best management practice, 10 marks. So within a 10 minutes presentation, you would take about 1 or 2 minutes to highlight this area, not about taking 3-4 minutes to just describe your company, this one, that one, and so on. No, it's about the company in brief, and this is the particular best management practice which we are targeting. So with that, now you can see that clearly 50 marks are offered for what? Justification with the evidence of bringing that business effort, sustaining and growing the business, how that execution was done, how that activities were not just carried out as just mere activities, but with a distinct meaning, distinct purpose, a distinct execution to get those output and outcomes. So that is what this 50 marks of the second question part. So that would take about nearly about 4-5 minutes. So now you have spent about nearly about 7 minutes. So the last probably 3 to 4 minutes, you will concentrate on that. What is the impact you have generated? What are the key findings? How you are going to sustain this? And what is the overall impact to the society, the larger economy, or the industry, or the organization, and overall success to the larger community. So that is where you will last nearly about 3 minutes. So then it's done 10 minutes. So the overall effectiveness would be counted for 20 marks. So all in all, it's a 20 minutes, it's a sharp 10 minutes. You will be you are compelled to stop the presentation, and the 10 minutes the question Q&A. So many questions would come from the panelists, and they are giving the marks in the same way. So those who are reading the documents, they are referring to your document and refer some questions and ask, because your synopsis should be in line with the presentation. And synopsis is one thing, presentation you are coming and telling a different thing would not be acceptable, because in person like me, I would refer and say, look, you are mentioning about one particular data table, but that is not here, or that what you have displayed there, that is totally new to us, and so on. But just imagine that if someone is evaluating for the first time, like another professional coming, and they would look at, they would listen, what is this best management practice? Well, has it clearly identified, so that how the company has executed to put it to the business within that pressurized economic odds and all the other tough time, how the company has taken that to bring back to the business, getting into with all these odds, how they have maneuvered, how they have taken it to the next level. That's what anyone, so this is really wonderful. They would give that relevant marks category according to the allocated marks. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, here we have given an opportunity for any 3 members can join. They can do as a real collective effort. So either one can present, 2 can answer. So that opportunity is there. So anyway, maximum 3 members are allowed for the presentation, all office attire, formal proceeding. Last time we witnessed how the company's enthusiasm and involvement, that was really fascinating. So with that, we want to tell you that this information is purely used for the institute purpose. It has a clear, strict due diligence process of keeping that internal, led by the president and the council, and the other members are clearly have established the judging process very transparent. The evaluation system is very strictly confidential. No one should involve like directly calling me, for an example, even neither calling president for any kind of undue favorism. No, like please don't resort to such say paths, because that will be immediately leading to a kind of a disqualification. But you can call and ask from the president of, or if you feel anything, you can call and ask, but not for any undue advantage that you are seeking for. Such paths, those are all very clearly, credibly, we have established last year onwards. With, as far as this competition is concerned, the panel of judges will be the final decision makers with regard to that. So with that, before I conclude, let me stop sharing this one, and we'll open up just to share a few thoughts with you, what we have witnessed last year's competition. Now, if I very quickly put it to a perspective here, even though this is not a lecture session, here, ladies and gentlemen, now if you look at the two sides of this response last time, we saw that the best practice defined well. In fact, I prepare a small document to just to tell that, just a Word document, where the define well and the response from the corporates. So if you look at that, relatively defined well and not well. And response wise, if you look at the well responded very well to the situation, the circumstances, and of course not responded well. So if you look at the four scenarios, ideally, very clearly, company has defined the process, the best practice well, and the response also overwhelmingly very good. So in such scenario one, we can say relatively defined well, above average response. Know in doing. The companies know that what they do, what they know, the concepts into applications, and clear practice, focus, engaging, positive, and futuristic. Now, those are the excellent companies who got their like accolades last time, the awards. So that is one category. If we go to the right opposite, the other categories, best practice has not relatively defined well, and the response also mediocre average. If I say not defined well, average response. Sometimes compelled by the senior management, least focus, poorly responded, last minute given up, like they were waiting till last minute to present their synopsis. The cases also can be like where there's an interesting story, but their response is poor. Right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the last two. So if you look at another scenario 3, where the best practices defined very well, but average response, poor response. What does that mean? That means the company has a good story, excellent story, because they have done something magical in that relevant operational area, people management area, marketing area, information security, or manufacturing. They have done a fantastic job. But unfortunately, no responsible person in the organization to come forward and tell the story, connect it to the requirements, like leader-follower gaps. Probably the chairman is very keen to showcase, but assigning someone, delegating to someone, but they have not responded very well to the required showcase. So we saw that, unfortunately, good brand names, nice stories, but unfortunately, let's say a middle manager is involving in the presentation and not telling that story at the expectation level of the chairman or the CEO, the MD, and so on. The final one, the company has not identified that, not defined well of their scenario, but we can see above response, the scenario 4. That means company is very enthusiastic, but not connected well. Clarity issues. Some activities were highlighted as practices. For an example, in my final thoughts, I want to tell you, in the pandemic scenario, so they are explaining a lot of activities. They say that we have done this, this, so on and so forth, a lot of activities, but it has no connection with their identified practice. So they are doing so many things. So they are not standing out. different things are not clearly differentiated, substantiated, and so on and so forth. So therefore, we love to share these knowledge as we progress. So let me conclude my part before we open up the Q&A. What we want to tell you that this is not about selecting a winner, but if we come forward, showcase, if we improve our respective categories of these industry clusters in the country, I am sure with this kind of initiative from a professional body like CPM, we can take this into the next level and grow and take to the higher level, the excellent level, as Professor Wattawala said. So with those remarks, let me conclude my part. Let me hand over the proceeding back to Mr. Deshan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samantha, for your comprehensive explanation. Now, I invite company representatives to post your questions. Kindly mention your name and the company if you would like. Otherwise, you can mention your name and post your questions. You can on your mic. Otherwise, post your questions via chat box.
Hi, this is Sabin from Hake-Up. Can we get this presentation, because it might be very helpful to like grab the details.
Yes, Sabin, thank you very much.
Is it in the website?
Yes, wonderful question. So the recorded version as well as the document shared by Dr. Samantha, it's available. So you will receive by email as well. So we will send it soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Others, you may post questions because we, according to our time plan, we have 3 minutes balance. Otherwise, we can conclude the session. So please forward your questions if you have.
And I'm sorry, and there's another one as well. Now, last year, we present a specific program which we have done, like implementing a new system that we can showcase our things to like doing the factory visits and all that. And we cannot go with that this year as well, right? We might need to have a new situation and the new solution for this year.
May I add a point, Professor Wattawala? Now, it's like this. It can be an activity or series of activities, but what is important thing is, by looking at your own synopsis, you can see whether you have identified the relevant innovative or novel practice clearly, distinctly, and then if you have done something to come out from the odds and take you to the next level, of course, it's a practice which has resulted so many outputs and outcomes to you during 2022. No problem, you can go forward. But it should not be just a copy paste of the last year document and submitting. No, it should not be the case. How you have according to the given criteria.
Okay, thank you. Now the thing is, last year we have done this virtual thing to to do the factory visits and all that. Now this year also we are using that, and we have done some upgrading as well. So can we use those upgrades for this year, or so that was the question actually.
Idea is if that whatever your practice under the category of it's, whether it's under operational or customer relationship side or marketing or in whatever the category, if it is distinctly you are building up and consolidating to the next level, you think that that is something worthwhile to showcase, then compile it and go forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? So please forward. I think seems all are clear with the explanation of Dr. Samantha and Professor Wattawala. Let me thank on behalf of CPM Sri Lanka for your patient listening and take part of this info session. So in the event, if you need any sort of clarifications, as you mentioned, you can contact Secretariat. We have mentioned the details, telephone numbers, email addresses, and everything. So our staff is willing to give our best assistance in this competition to all company representatives. And we wish all the best for the companies, and we are expecting your presence at our Best Management Practices Company Awards 23 competitions. And while wishing you a pleasant day, we are signing off from Colombo. Thank you very much for your participation.